You have a message that needs to be shared. And today, we are talking all about the purpose behind PR and how press coverage can actually help you reach more people and impact those that you are meant to serve. But there are a few crucial things for you to know in order to put yourself in a position to be able to pitch media outlets. So I thought I would bring in the big guns. And today, my guest is Nicole Myden, who is a PR industry veteran. She has a heart of gold, and she is pulling back the curtain and giving us all of her best secrets for how to gain coverage for your business, regardless of what size your business is. Okay, everybody, welcome back. I could not be more excited about today's topic or today's guest. She is one of my favorite human beings on the planet. And if you do not already know Nicole Myden, let me give you a quick intro because this woman is definitely one that you want to bring into your girl gang. She is such a wealth of knowledge and information, and she's kind of like walking sunshine. Those of you who are watching the video version of this, her smile just lights up a room. That's not natural daylight. That's actually her smile just reflecting off of all the walls. So Nicole Myden is a dear friend of mine, and she is the founder of the PR Concierge. That is her company, and she is I always hesitate to give the number of years, but you're a PR veteran. Yeah. I mean, that is like safe to say. But she has had an incredible career doing PR and getting press for brands that we would all know and love. But what I appreciate most about her is she has a heart to serve heart-centered, purpose-driven entrepreneurs, the modern day entrepreneur, and her new business venture and podcast and workshops and online courses are really all focused on exactly that. Teaching the everyday entrepreneur how to get their message into the world through the beautiful gift that is the media. And today we're going to be talking about exactly that. So Nicole, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. This is so fun. I wish we could do this every day.
We should just have a standing Zoom date every single day. That would make my days a lot brighter. I'm just so thrilled to have you. And really, you are such an inspiration for this project in particular. The fact that we started the podcast when we did, because you jumped and you went first. And I said, gosh, that is something I know I am meant to do. I know it is in our future. But through some connections that you helped make to the guys at Rensler Media, we'll give them a quick plug. It really helped to speed up the process and make it so much easier to just dive in and do it messy and do it imperfectly. So Thank you so much. Have to give you a shout out for that as well.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm so proud of you. This is not easy for all of you people listening out there to do. And it's so courageous and so brave and so fun, which is the whole point of it. And I'm so proud of you for doing it. And I know that this is going to be like the best podcast for people to tune into. So I'm so excited.
Well, I'll give you that $20 later.
25. No, just kidding.
The rate just went up, people. Did you hear that? So I want to start with the part of your journey that brought you to Arizona. That was how we connected. And you have had this amazing career. You've done PR in the traditional sense. You've been all over the world. You've worked with all the big brands. And then life happened and you found yourself in Scottsdale, Arizona, essentially reinventing yourself. And what I like to say is you're disrupting the whole industry now and really bringing a different type of PR training and education that hasn't existed. So will you just walk us through what brought you to the idea to start the PR Concierge as it stands today and what you are doing through that platform?
Yes. Wow. Okay. I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet because I know we could talk about it for so long, but essentially I found myself living in Los Angeles at 37 years old and just having my soul kind of beating my heart every day, sitting in 2 hours of traffic going, I need to change my environment. I need to take a major leap and I need to do it now. And so I say that the universe kind of pulled me here to come to Arizona. I had no reason to come here. I didn't have a relationship sitting here. I didn't have a job waiting here for me. It was really just doing what I had spent years already getting better at, which was listening to my gut. And my gut was pulling me here. And I can see now 2.5 years later that I can see very clearly that I was brought here to heal and really reinvent myself, like you said, in a lot of ways that I know had I stayed in LA would not have happened. So coming to Arizona has been so liberating for me. It has been safe for me. It has been comfortable for me to really just allow my creative juices to kind of flow again at this phase of my life. And starting a business again here once I got settled was wonderful. And the intention was to call it the PR concierge, as you mentioned, because I believe that not one size fits all. And I come from a huge agency background, almost 20 years of working in the industry and, huge bi-coastal agencies in Los Angeles and all these big brands. And for me, what's most fueling at this phase of my life is connecting with so many creators and entrepreneurs out there that I feel are so worthy of press, but just because maybe they're not in a place where they can afford these huge several $1,000 a month retainers or a big agency yet, doesn't mean they're not worthy. And so I really thought, okay, this is a time for me to really kind of align my business with where I think I'm already now soulfully kind of aligned with myself and make things much more purpose-driven, much more journey-driven. And the thing is, there's so many genius creators and entrepreneurs out there that have so many great ideas. And there's no reason why they shouldn't be getting coverage. They just might not know how to get it for themselves. And so I really felt that there was a great opportunity to work with small business owners and help bring that local and national light, to their missions or their platforms or their brands. And so the purpose in the PR concierge and the purpose in my life and the work I'm doing has really turned into honing in on working with teaching modern day entrepreneurs, like you said, how to go after getting their own press. I think that everybody is worthy of it, but I also don't want it to be something where people feel that they need PR to define their worth, right? So there's two different things kind of going on there. I want everyone to have it and I want it to feel attainable. And with a lot of the very basic fundamentals and actionable steps that I teach, you can find yourself in local magazines and on your local morning TV shows. It's very doable. You just have to create time to do it. But at the same time, if you don't want to do it, it's okay. And you're still worthy and you're still valid and life is still grand.
And I'm so grateful that you made that little point, because it can be easy, regardless of what industry we're in, to see coverage that our peers are getting or feel the need to keep up. I came from the fitness industry, so especially in that world with, a magazine feature being something that a lot of people were chasing. Not to say that that's not valid, but it really has to come back to your true purpose is your business and the people that you're serving. That press coverage can be a great tool to help you reach people you may not already be reaching, but it doesn't define you as the person.
And I think the key is that if somebody is in a soulful place with themselves and they're really an intentional, integrity-based type of person, and their business is moving forward with that type of integrity and that type of intention, when you get press coverage, when you're working in that mindset, you respect it in a different way. Because to your point, you're not necessarily going after it because you don't need it to validate you. The press is great because, let's face it, at the end of the day, it's another gateway to reach more people and serve more people and help more people with whatever your brand or your platform or your product or your service or your mission is. So it certainly is only another helpful extension to get us out there to reach new people. But if you are honoring it and kind of having fun with it and not making it something that has to be there for you to thrive in life, you start to appreciate it in a much healthier way. And then when the press coverage does happen, you really celebrate it with so much more gratitude.
So good. Okay, so something you really helped me understand, and I'd love if you would touch on this, is defining PR in its place for a business versus the traditional advertising route, because the two are very different, and I had never thought about that until I heard you talk about it.
Yeah. So I think the best way to describe it is really, people see all these beautiful ads in magazines and they all look, of course, beautiful and wonderful. And it's half of what magazines are filled with, or newspapers. But I don't think a lot of people do really get, how that all works. And so essentially what I tell people is, if you've got a ton of cash flow and you're opening like a brick and mortar place, or you've got a new product launch and you want to put money into advertising, you 100% should if that's what feels right to you. But just know that when you are taking out an ad in a publication or in a newspaper, you can obviously only put so much content on it. So typically in an ad, you would see, a beautiful photo likely of like the person behind the brand or a product image or something, or the brick and mortar location, things like that. And some verbiage maybe around it, maybe, a website, an address of location, the basic nuts and bolts. But what you're not seeing in that ad that you've just spent thousands of dollars paying for is really the essence of the brand, or the secret sauce of the brand, or the mission, or the story coming to life in like an editorial feature. So that's why press coverage is so invaluable and so wonderful, for me, and something that I'm so passionate about is because it gives entrepreneurs and business owners, or any brand or product or service, the opportunity to have their entire story told. So when you have a journalist actually write an article about you, they can talk about how you got to be doing what you're doing. They can create that emotional connection that you are going after really with your audience that's going to get them hooked on your product or service to begin with. That doesn't always often happen in an ad. Now it can, but not again in the same way or the breadth or the length in which an editorial article can. So I always tell people to really think, if you're going to invest, in PR or advertising, just be thoughtful about why you're investing in either. And really for me, I think, if you're going to invest, why wouldn't you want to go and put it in the place where you have the chance to probably get like the full features and more in-depth opportunities? So and if you were to go on a TV show, local morning show, I mean, obviously you can talk about your brand in a much larger way than just having an ad go across the screen. So something to think about. I think that's one of the biggest questions I get asked from so many people that I meet is, I thought PR was advertising, and they're two totally different things. They all fall under a marketing umbrella, of course, but they serve two different purposes.
And I love that distinction. I think it actually really speaks to consumer behavior as well, because I know for myself, I love to buy things. I'm very good at shopping. And
Yes.
most of my purchases come from some type of third-party validation or a referral to a product or service. And that's how PR feels to me, press coverage, versus when I'm seeing an advertisement, my brain registers it as an ad. Unless I'm really in the market for that product or service, I'm not necessarily going to register that the same way if I'm hearing a compelling story about a brand that maybe I don't have a need for right now, but I'll remember it.
That's right. The remembrance and also the third party credibility, kind of like what you touched on. Consumers are so savvy. So, I mean, look, we all do it, right? If we're looking on a website for a product, or, you're seeing a speaker that's going to do an event. I mean, so many different things, but consumers look for all these things, right? They want to see, oh my gosh. And then all of a sudden they see that some person that they wanted to like invest in is written up in Inc. magazine or was just featured on the local news, really talking about the essence of why they're even doing what they're doing. Then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I love that person. I love what they stand for. Here's my credit card. I want to buy, attend, invest in whatever they're doing. I'm already hooked. So you really get that opportunity to get that emotional connection. And that is the secret sauce of longevity for any brand to consumer. If you can find a way to emote, a connection out of a consumer to your product or your brand or your service, you've already won. And really how you do that is just by being yourself, because you really are just wanting to be authentic in your product, your service, or who you are as a brand, because you want people to feel like they can hang out with you or they can relate to you or that you have things in common. And so it's really important to share your truth and be authentic, especially now more than ever. And I think that the good thing is the media and society as a whole is very much embracing, people that are really just all in on who they are and comfortable with, themselves. So yeah, so feel free to be as truthful and authentic as possible in your pitching.
Okay, and I love that you touched on just the media landscape being so open to all different types of stories. And this, again, was something really a misconception that I had, thinking that businesses who were in a position for PR were those who were a certain size or had been in business for a certain number of years. And this is where you're really turning the industry on its head and saying, hey, you may not be at the point where you're going to hire an agency to take on your PR and really drive that forward for you. So let me show you how to leverage the things that you have right now, which we all have a story. We all have something to share.
That's
And
right.
you're teaching entrepreneurs how to position themselves to get media coverage. And
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I would love if you would touch on that, as well as just how, we're a content driven society. Like, there's such a need for content and why people should be pitching themselves.
Such a need. Everything you said is so right on. And I think that I try to explain it. Like I say to people, like, I'm not very good at accounting. That's why I have an accountant, right? But I'm trying to learn more about it because I want to know all the facets of my business. I've got a good handle on my legal agreements. I've got a good handle on really everything else related to my business. But the accounting part for me has always tripped me up. And thank God I've got my accounting, stuff in great hands. But it's the same way that I look at what I do. If I did not work in my industry, I would have no clue how any of this works. And so I'm trying to be a voice in the industry that's saying, hey, this isn't so much about going after these like $10,000 a month brands right now. I want to give access to all the amazing people out there who, again, are so worthy of understanding this information. But the reality is, not many people in my industry, in fact, I don't even know if anybody is sitting down and trying to take the time to do this in the way that I am. Because of course there's room for everybody, but I feel like I've got my own little nice spin on it, which is just to keep it simple. I try to teach people how to go about doing their own PR as if we were back in like elementary school, right? It's like, here are your 5 to 10 key things that you really need to know. These are all doable. These are all tangible. You can absolutely tackle them if you just carve out some time to do it, right? And so, yeah, I think there are definitely, in fact, I've had some PR people on my show who are applauding what I'm doing because this is an interesting way to look at it. My goal would be to essentially tee up an entrepreneur or a small business to get momentum and press going on their own, right? Save some money doing it, but just learn the basic fundamentals and then be teed up to a place where you can be handed over to an agency. Because really, anybody that's wanting to build big and really be out there will profit. So like there's so much power in aligning with an agency or a consultant like myself when you're in that right place, because of course, more experts and more power behind your brand moving it forward is only going to help you. But of course, most people are not in that place, right? And so that's where I come in to just basically say, here, let's start here. Like, let's remove all the layers and just start from the basic of basics. There are certain minimum tools that you just need to have before you pitch yourself. And so if I can explain to somebody that you need a website and you need to have great imagery and you need to have some videos and you need to have some basic things before you reach out to journalists, they start to go, oh, well, of course, now I can see exactly why I would need those things, right? So it's not that it's rocket science. It's just that I'm trying to explain it in a way, because ultimately what I'm trying to do is protect the entrepreneur from wasting their time reaching out to a journalist and then not being properly armed and wondering why maybe they haven't heard back, or, a journalist saying, hey, now we need all these things, when I would have hoped to get you armed to send all those things from the beginning. So, again, it's really simple, but I think I'm just trying to really take the time to explain these basics. And like anything, right? It's like we've talked about, if you hire a trainer and you go into the gym, you're not going to get the 6-pack the first time you go in. But I'm sure within a few months of having some great consistency and discipline, you will start to see results. And press is the same way. So I always tell everybody, you've got to have, you've got to honor the consistency. You've got to be really disciplined, carve time in your schedule to actually pitch and do some of that outreach. And of course, like anything, it will materialize and manifest when the time's right.
So true. And you spoke on an interview that we did for the Girl Gang membership, which I'll share a little bit more about that at the end, but about how we have to approach this, like anything else in business, with if something doesn't get picked up right away, if you're not hearing back, it doesn't mean anything about you. It actually might just be a timing issue or not a right fit. Will you speak to that a little bit?
100%. So this is so important for entrepreneurs to understand. I meet a lot of people who will tell me they've got these great things going on. Let's say, they're doing an event this week in town and they say, oh, I just reached out to the media people. And I go, well, like it's like the mama bear comes out in me and I go, oh, I wish I would have known. Because if you have an event coming up, what you want to do, especially in your local community, you want to start reaching out to your media in your market, local newspapers, local TV stations, radio, the magazine editors, at least a month or two in advance, because they need to know about it to plan accordingly. So if something's happening like today or tomorrow, reaching out to them today or tomorrow is not going to really help the cause. So yeah, you want to give yourself enough runway, right? And that will actually alleviate the disappointment if you don't hear back. Now, if you're just pitching and there's no actual time frame around something happening for your business, like if you don't have an event, but maybe you're just pitching yourself as an expert, or there isn't an actual time frame to what you're pitching, give it a minute. You have to remember that these journalists get hundreds of emails a day, if not a week, right? They're getting pitched from all ends. They're getting hit up in person. They're getting hit up on email, on the phone. So just because somebody doesn't reach back right away doesn't mean they're not interested. Oftentimes you will hear back from a journalist and they will say, this doesn't work for us because, and they'll give you that feedback, which is great. And I love when they do that. I wish they would always do that, because then at least you'd have peace of mind and you would know. But then there are times where you'll pitch yourself for an expert, opportunity, or you'll pitch your brand and they won't respond. But maybe a few months from now, you'll hear from them randomly and you'll think to yourself, oh God, maybe they didn't like my pitch. It wasn't good enough. Not the case. They actually probably filed it because they thought you were incredibly valuable, but they found that there was a better time to utilize you. So I think it's really good to get into a habit of, I love this phrase that I'm really obsessing over right now, sublime detachment. I'm really using it in all areas of my life right now. And it applies to this so much because I think that if you can put yourself out there, kind of like we've done with launching podcasts and, reinventing yourself, moving to a new city, pitching yourself, whatever the case, if you can move through your day just knowing that you are going to go all in and be passionate and intentional and put something out there, but not be attached to where it's going to go, you're going to move through it in such a more fun, fluid way. I pitch people all the time for clients, right? I am doing the pitching as well. I don't always hear back right away, but I also know that I know how the game works. And if I don't hear back from them today, maybe I'll hear back from them tomorrow, or maybe I'll hear back in a week. Or I'll give them a week and then I'll follow back up, right? And just kind of give them another nudge or another chance to say yay or nay. So when you're pitching, I think it's really important to just have a lot of fun behind it and a lot of intention, and know that a little luck and a little timing is part of it. But if you don't hear back right away, you keep going, just like when you go to the gym. You don't just give up on your first day. You've got to keep going. And also know that if one opportunity doesn't materialize wholeheartedly, it's because something better is around the bend for you. I see it all the time with people. They might pitch one outlet and they don't get the love that they thought they were going to get, but all of a sudden they pitch this other outlet and then boom, they booked the TV show, or boom, they got asked to be in the magazine. So sometimes you just have to put it out into the universe, as we know, and just let God and, all of that manifestation going on out there, work for you a little bit. It's not going to happen right away, and that's okay. And don't be hard on yourself if it doesn't.
So important to remember. And I think just in business in general, that's a great life lesson. Okay. You're just dropping knowledge left and right that truly goes back to just truths in life and being willing to put ourselves and our message out there. I think as entrepreneurs, that can sometimes be the scariest step, because there's this fear of rejection or judgment. But you love to say every business, regardless of size, is deserving of press.
Yeah.
Why is it that you believe that so wholeheartedly?
I believe that because we all have a story, right? Whether you grew up and if you're listening to this and you're sitting in the middle of Iowa on a farm, or you're sitting, surfing in the beaches of San Diego, or you're out in Hollywood trying to become, a musician, or you're sitting in Scottsdale and you're reinventing yourself at 39 years old. We all have a story and we all are connected to each other. And so I believe that everybody's story is valid. And, the key with getting press coverage is just, you have to find the hook in your story. You've got to find the you've got to find the pitch in the journey. So everybody, in my opinion, is worthy of press because we all come with stories. We all come with journeys that make us who we are, that have gotten us to where we're doing what we're doing. So to me, that's everyone's pitch, right? Where it becomes press coverage worthy in a moment in time. So if hopefully that made sense. Everybody's worthy, right? You've all got stories, you've all got reasons why you're doing what you're doing that are going to be interesting to somebody. But getting the press then to cover that is all dependent on the timing and your pitch and your hook. So how is what you're doing with your wonderful journey and your wonderful mission relevant to the audience of that magazine or that newspaper or that TV show, right? And so that's where you've got to get really clear on your pitch. The pitch is your hook. This is relevant to your audience because what I'm offering in my product or service is relevant to your audience because, right? Those are the words we want to kind of bring out. And so I think as entrepreneurs, if you start just writing those things down on a daily basis, if you're feeling fearful to pitch yourself and just get really more confident in why you're doing what you're doing and how it's helping people and how you're providing a solution in your industry and how your journey growing up or moving to 5 different states and all of these layers have gotten you to now produce this product that's solving a problem in your industry, there's your pitch, right? So when I say everyone's worthy, I really feel that everybody has beautiful stories that just need to be told. And, I wish that I had the opportunity to shed light on all of those, which is why I'm so passionate about it. So every time I meet a small business owner, I'm like, we got to get you out there. We got to do this. We got to do that because they deserve it, just like the big brands.
You really do that. Having met you in person just less than a year ago. Gosh, isn't that crazy?
It's wild.
That is really how you helped me start to think. And so I want to
you don't even want to know what I see for you. I mean, we could go off on a whole tangent about that, lady, but you're going to be all over the press.
Oh goodness. Well, I thank goodness I have you to walk me through and navigate that journey truly. And so one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on the podcast, other than just selfishly, I get to hang out with you for a few minutes via Zoom, but because you're in our shoes, you're in the shoes of the women who are part of our community, in that you are creating your own business. You're a small business owner and really figuring this out as you go, as you reinvent your business. So we love to keep it real around here because it can be very easy to convince ourselves that what we see on someone's social media, they see that you have this successful podcast and these events. But let's talk a little bit about behind the scenes. What have been some of the challenges in this season?
Oh my gosh. So many. And I'm an open book and super vulnerable. So hopefully this will just inspire somebody listening to know that they're not alone. I'm 39, I'm turning 40 in 3 months, and I'm so grateful to get another year on this beautiful planet. So many women are so terrified of getting older, and I have just loved embracing it at this phase of my life. It's such a beautiful time for me. The last few years have been incredibly challenging. I mean, look, I moved to a new city at 37. I left a huge network behind in LA and a beautiful life, but I knew that my soul was craving more and that there was something better waiting for me, even more than I could have ever dreamt of, right? And all these things are happening, and they're so beautiful, and I'm so grateful. But what people don't see behind the scenes is a lot of what I do share on social media, that, I'm single. I'm on my second venture and go around as an entrepreneur. I am totally self-funded. I don't have any loans. I don't have a husband currently. I don't have, mom and dad, writing me checks every month. I am doing this all on my own. And that is a lot. It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of faith. It's a lot of days where, as much as I'm in high vibe mode, there are days where I am finding myself crying in a ball going, oh my gosh, why am I doing this? And then I have a random stranger listen to my podcast and tell me that they pitch themselves and book themselves on a TV segment. And then I burst into tears going, that's exactly why I'm doing this, because it fuels me to help people learn something that I've spent almost 20 years doing. That's so fun for me. I think adapting to a new city is terrifying, right? I'm so trustworthy. And so you don't know who to trust. And there were all these layers to kind of settling into my new life here. Plus starting a business, it's a lot more fun for me this time around, and I'm not taking it as seriously, which is probably why things are going the way they are. When I first started my business, I was 25. I thought I knew everything. I had no clue how to run a company, but I knew how to do PR. And so that's what went really well, running the PR, but behind the scenes, it was things were falling apart, and I got kicked in the ass several times, and I had to really, really learn how to run a business. I think so many entrepreneurs get into the entrepreneurial spirit because they're all in on their product or their brand or their service, but they don't really know how to run a business, which I think we should all just raise our hands and say that it's okay. You don't need to do all these things, or I'm sorry, you don't need to know how to do all these things in the beginning, but it is really our responsibility then to go all in on these different facets of the business and then learn, right? We do have to learn. It's responsibility. But I think, also look, I mean, I lost my father last year. My father passed away last March. I was in the midst of moving the business forward, signing new clients, doing events. And I was kind of grieving and going through all that behind the scenes on my own. I have wonderful friends and family, but at the end of the day, again, for anyone out there listening who's single, like it's a lot, to grieve the loss of a parent, to run a company, all of these layers. It's a lot. It's a lot. And I think that I can safely say, as I'm sure you can too, and so many entrepreneurs out there, that this is not for everybody, which is why everybody's not doing it, right? I mean, that's one of my other favorite phrases, is that if this was easy, no one would be sitting in corporate America right now. Everybody would be working from home and creating these lives that we have. And by the way, I am the first to say that I have designed a life that I love. I'm so happy in my life. I am finding such joy in all the things I'm doing, but I have done a lot of work behind the scenes on myself to get to this place of understanding more about universal alignment and timing and surrender, because I can only control so much. God is moving me forward as I believe he's moving all of us forward in our own path. And what's working for somebody at a certain time, I mean, talk about seasons, right? Like, so many of my girlfriends are married, they're moms. Of course, I want all those things as well. But I have had to surrender to the fact that this journey thus far for me has been about my purpose and my work, and all those other layers will come in, and my purpose will change. It's not always going to be about this work. I'm doing it now because that's what I'm supposed to be doing. But I still look forward to the day where, just by, the guiding forces of the universe, the purpose will change. And I think that's where you have fun as an entrepreneur. Surrender to the fact that what you're doing right now is what you're doing right now. But maybe 2, 3, 5 years from now, it's not what you're doing. And that is okay.
I have gotten just really clear that I have no idea what I want to be when I grow up, right? That whole notion that as a child we should know what we're going to be. I am 35 and still don't really know what I'll be 10 years from now. And I love that you embrace that attitude as well.
Yeah.
You are just such
I think we all just put so much pressure on ourselves. I mean, look, I'm that generation. We came out of college 20 years ago. It was like, you were a doctor, you were a lawyer, you were an accountant, a teacher. Like, there were like 10 jobs you could do. Nobody was going into entrepreneurship. Nobody was thinking creatively. And so what a beautiful time we're in to have this freedom to really design a life that feels good to us. And that's what this second phase and next chapter of me moving to Arizona and starting the business has been. It's been about life by design for me. I felt like I always had a blessed life growing up, but there was something in me that was there was a lot of resistance and force, because I think I did a lot of things that I thought I needed to do. But now, everything in my life has a purpose. Everything has an intention, and it's not about stuff or material things. It's more about that. This energetically, it's like every person, everything happening serves a purpose, and whatever doesn't, it's okay. I don't need to worry about all those other things. Right. And so that's a wonderful place to be. I think that's the work I love to talk about too, outside of the PR, is that to be in this place of peace. Like, so many people say, oh my gosh, you seem like you're so happy and you're having so much fun. And I'm like, well, let me tell you how much work was going on behind the scenes to get to this place. No one handed me a book and said, Nicole, this is how, go ahead, here, apply all these things, learn how to grieve, learn how to deal with broken hearts, get yourself back up from zero at 35. Nobody gave me a handbook. So you've got to just have so much faith in yourself and know that you can always bet on yourself and you'll always win.
Amen, sister. Oh my goodness. Well, we could spend the entire day talking to one another. I am sure of that. I
Sure.
want to tie this all together with a pretty bow because there's so much knowledge and wisdom that you offered. And I know for people who are really ready to take that step, they're going to want to know, how do they learn about the tangible steps? Where can they dive in with you and really learn from the tools that you've provided? So share a little bit about where to find you, your offerings, and then what you have available for those who are ready for that next step.
Yes. So anybody can find me on my website, theprconcierge.com. You can shoot me a note there. You can find me on Instagram at Nicole Myden, and then the company is the PR Concierge on Instagram. I do workshops here locally in Scottsdale called Purpose Intentional PR Workshops, where you can come learn live. I am starting to take them on the road now, like you, my soul sister. So stay tuned. I might be coming to a city near you soon, and that will all be on the website. But what you can do is, if you're in a place where you do need just a couple of hours of some hand-holding, even without committing to some huge project or retainer, you can hire me just to work with you a little bit more granularly on a little bit more strategic alliance type of partnership for a couple of hours here and there. All that information is on the website as well. And I do have a course that's now available through the website. So if you just want to know the bare bones basics, fundamentals of PR, how to start, what do you even need to be doing right now, how to organize yourself, and then how to actually just start reaching out to a journalist by email or inviting them to something you're doing. I go through all of those basic steps in the course, and that is available, like I said, through the website. That's a great place to start for any entrepreneur that just wants to put a little bit of very minimal money into a very short-term investment. And it's an hour-and-a-half webinar of me just really holding your hand and walking you through basic steps to get you off and running. But there's really great value in it and great information. And of course, you can just reach out to me and email me or, shoot me a note, and I'm happy to support you guys, of course, however I can.
And you mentioned this story. I was going to mention it if you didn't, that one of our community members did listen to the podcast. So the free information that she gives, and secured a placement on her local morning TV show, and now is going back for a follow-up.
Yeah,
so there are no excuses other than take this information.
And that is exactly it. As I think she listened to the podcast. So like you said, I have a podcast called Purpose. It's hashtag PRPOSE. It's all about the purpose in PR. And every week I interview journalists that are giving free, valuable tips to all the entrepreneurs on how to pitch them. And like you said, yes, it was so wonderful to get a note from a total stranger saying, I listened and I applied what you guys said, and I booked myself a TV segment, and I was like dancing around my apartment. So it's really that easy, guys. It really is. And I applauded her so much for just taking the action to do it, because that's always the most terrifying part, right? Just to take that leap. And so that's what I'm here for, to kind of just give you that little push and nudge if you need it.
I loved it so much. I was doing the dance with you both. And that embodies what the Powerhouse Women community is about as well. Connecting people to resources and the women that we know can help them further their message and get themselves out there. Yes. So if I didn't get to dive all that much into this, but I'm going to wrap up by sharing, Nicole and I did a deeper dive on the elements of a successful media pitch in an interview that she was gracious enough to do for our Girl Gang membership community. So this is our monthly membership where we take all the connection and growth of the Powerhouse Women live event, and we brought it online year round because we heard from so many women that they just wanted to stay connected. They wanted to continue working toward getting their dream and their big idea off the ground. So every month we bring in a different expert. We were fortunate enough to have Nicole as our expert for the month of March, and we give a lot more tangible tips and things that you can take and consume that content on your own schedule, at your own pace, with a community of women who are on the journey with you. So you can find out more about that and hear our interview at powerhousewomen.co/girlgang. And I think I just want to end with saying that, Nicole, you represent so much of what we want women to know in this community, that they're not meant to do it alone. There are others out there to support them, and they have all of the tools and resources available that they will ever need to get started toward pursuing their big idea. So thank you so much for being here today.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. I'm so proud of you, and just so much love to all those powerhouse women out there.